G'day guys, we finally have the index for World Eaters in our hands, so let's have a look at what these blood-soaked maniacs can do in 10th edition Warhammer 40k.
Look for the blood god.
Alrighty guys, let's talk about the World Eaters Forgefiend. Now I know we don't typically think about shooting units when we think about a World Eaters army. However, I think the Forgefiend is very interesting, particularly in a World Eaters list. It does something different than it does in your traditional CSM lists and the other CSM factions. The World Eaters one has a really interesting ability that's going to make it really dynamic in the way that it integrates with your World Eaters army. So first, let's look at its damage output. It's got ectoplasma cannons. I rate them over the Hades autocannon, depending on the points, of course, but assuming they're the same or roughly the same, I think you're going to go with the triple Hades autocannon, which means you're going to be getting 3d3 shots, and each weapon is blast, which means if you're targeting a unit with 10 models, each one is going to get an additional 2 shots. So you're going to be getting 3d3 plus 6 for an average of 12 shots. So it's getting a lot of those shots. They're high strength, they're high AP, and they're high damage. This is one of the few areas of the World Eaters where you're getting 3 damage shots, you know. A lot of the 8-bound, the Berserkers, even the characters are doing 2 damage with their attacks. So being able to do something 3 damage from range is really interesting. The most interesting thing on this data sheet is that any unit that was hit by one of those attacks has to take a battle shock check at the end of that phase. And basically what that means is that you're going to be able to shoot enemy units, and then if you do wounds to them, they're going to be battle shocked, which means your opponent can't use stratagems on them, which means your opponent can't fire Overwatch, which is something that terrifies World Eaters. Your opponent can't use the counter-offensive stratagem, which is going to allow them to interrupt the sequence of combats. Your opponent's not going to be able to heroically intervene, which is going to stop them from stealing objectives off you, or stop them throwing something even more scary than your units into a combat, making it difficult. It's going to allow you to pick off their weaker things. There's tons of things that this is going to be able to do just by battle shocking your opponent in your turn. Yes, when it gets into their command phase, they're going to revert back, depending on if they pass their checks and whatnot, which means that it's not going to stop them from scoring their primary objective, but it is going to stop them from doing things in your turn. And it's also going to mean that they're going to be objective control 0 in your turn. So if there's an objective that you have to take from them, but you don't have, you don't care if they can take it back, you just need to take it from them in this turn in order to score one of your secondaries or something of that nature, this is going to help you out with that as well. So there's some really interesting stuff here by being able to deliver battle shock checks on enemy units from range in your shooting phase. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think the Forgefiend is worth it? I think he does interesting damage. I think he has interesting utility in the way that he's able to do those battle shock checks. However, I don't know, maybe you want to go pure combat with your World Eaters and forego shooting entirely. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below.
Look for the blood god.
The Warhammer community suffers from some of the most prohibitively expensive essentials in the world, especially Australian content creators. Every single day, Dean wants to create content, but he can't. Suffering from old, worn-out brushes, expensive model kits, and costly software and equipment he can't endure much longer. Just look at this dirty paint water. Would you drink this? Would you let your child? Even a small monthly donation can help provide Dean with clean paint water, basic tools for survival, and access to life-saving information and education. So please, follow the links in the description below and find out how you can sponsor Dean today and end the suffering. Suffering that is cruel